Well, good morning. We're going to double back again and fix the wrongs, right the wrongs. That's it. As you know, we're working on upgrading the shop. Oh, I like that. Upgrading, not fixing. Anyway, something early on that we really glossed over, and I know why now, and we're going to go back and see what we can do to make it better. But it's probably the main fixture in everybody's shop, the workbench. When I first cleaned up the shop, I wanted to keep it original. Why? Well, because it was here and the original owner and I had it, and so I held myself back for historical sake, I guess. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but the bench isn't as functional as I want it to be for me. So my thinking is I'm going to go in a little deeper this time and make it something that's mine that the next guy can say, this is wrong, and redo it. So we're going to put casters on. We're going to fix the drawer that has never been installed correctly. And we're going to clean it up. I want the top not to be rough sanded and the original scars. That was nice. And again, nothing wrong with that. It's not what I want now. So come along and let's see what kind of a mess I can make of this. Also, I'm going to run the heater today, I think. So we're trying out the microphone again to see what difference it makes. But I'm not smart enough to pre-test it. I'm just going to film the whole thing, and what you get is what you get. Let's go. In addition to this being an original fixture, it's also the most solid surface I have for banging. and it's pretty darn solid when you grab it. But when you put something in the vise and really start reefing, you feel it. So it was nailed together. I think I'm just going to add some screws. So if I have kitty corner nails, I'm going to add kitty corner screws to like the legs. That makes sense? I think it's a budget workaround than taking it all apart and bolting it. I did think about that, and I looked at it, but by the time I bought the nuts, bolts, washers, you know me. I love this backsplash I made. It's out of a piece of expanded foam PV. I don't know what it is, but it's an old piece of trim. Works great, but let's see if we can make it something a little nicer. The wheels, I'm not going to work the workbench around. I have the other bench for that. The wheels are so I can pull it out and clean. Because look, I just pulled it away from the wall. And I figured I can keep a little cleaner shop. Now let's go. Let's see if we can lower. Whoop. There's the top. I want to see about taking that to another level of nice. The vices have been working out great. They're nice and solid now. This was always loose and wiggly. This one was never mounted. They're great. This big, wide open, gaping hole where the drawer sat has no guides on the side. So the drawer just flip-flops around. So I never use it. This had a drawer in it, which I repurposed to my carving bench. And I don't know if I'm going to put anything in there or I think I might just take it off and utilize this space, which had a bunch of things on it that didn't need to be there. Speaking of which, it's got this whole lower, I nailed these fence boards on it and gave it a nice solid surface. Like, I have plenty of storage for my trash can and stuff. So let's go ahead and get the backsplash off and these off. And I think I'm going to see these have always been nailed on the bench top. I think I added some screws at some point, but I used to pry things on it when I was working on cars, and literally the boards would lift off. We're going to eliminate that. One thing I really don't want to do is bang or pry up on these and split one of these old 2x. There's some old wood, and it's in really good shape other than the ugliness. So I'm doing is where I don't see screws, and before I start banging on it, I'm going around, and wherever I find a nail, I'm getting the cat's paw in there, tapping it, and lifting the head up enough to where I can get a pry bar or the hammer under it and pulling the rest of the way out. I'm just going to go through and see what I can find before I start tapping on this top. Because like I said, I don't want to split it. There's a big knot right there at the end, which would be a place where it may split. So we'll take our time. I got all day. What about you? Oh, you probably don't. Here's where we're at. It's coming really slowly. There's a lot of hidden fasteners in there that I didn't see. So working it up a little at a time. I took a break and went to Lowe's. I decided I wanted to get some new pine for the backsplash and for the front here, and plus a project I'm doing in my basement. So 6 pieces of pine, and then I got some 1 3/4 inch screws because I figured, let's match the hardware throughout. $65. Now, $65 for pine, cheap pine. Now I know why I'm such a cheapskate. So anyway, we're working it up slowly. Oh, there we go. Hey, that one gave out. And we're going to see what we got on the back side. Look at that. Hey, wait a minute. My idea might not be so bad. Look. Hang on. Stay with me. That's pretty under there. I think we're going to go with that. Other than the piece of the front end coming off with it, that's what was underneath. That is going to be the new top. I'm impressed. And it's still going to keep the attachment to the original. Wow, this is nice. Okay, we're going to set that aside and see what we can do with the framework. We are going to get rid of this drawer slide. It's a mess, and we'll build something a little better. So we're still on. I want to disassemble that, and I want to, let me show you. And I want to cut these back. These always stuck up, so the backsplash had to be cut around them. And cut those flush so that, But I think we can get some more screws in here and tighten her all up. And she'll be, I'm going to leave let me show you here. There's plywood on this end of it. And I was going to take it off, but I'm thinking there's a screw in it. I'm thinking maybe something hung on it at one time or could hang on it. Plus it also adds rigidity. So I think we're going to leave that. I decided not to level the workbench to my other benches. This one's a little higher, but when I'm sitting at it, it's a lot more comfortable. So I'm going to leave it. So what I did is I hacked off the height of each new caster. And now I have to attach the casters. But as you can see, they're bigger than the 2x4. So I want to bridge this. And here comes the genius. This is the very last piece of 4x4 from my son and I's Volkswagen jack. If you haven't heard about it 100 times, go back 100 videos and you'll see it. I'm going to split this down the middle and make a 2x4, turn it into a 2x4, I guess, to go across so I can get the meat of the wheel all situated. Genius, right? And then the bench will take on a whole new tie to my past. And my son's past. So I think that's a pretty cool use and a pretty good idea, don't you? Okay, before I flip this whole thing back over, while I put the newly created 2x4 in, I put 3 3-inch screws on each end. And then since I was already here in each corner, I went ahead and screwed down the new casters. My only fear is the casters are going to leave it wobbly on the ground. But I think we're reinforcing everything else enough to offset that new variable. We'll see.
Okay, so this is the point where my microphone went completely out, so we're trying to do a voiceover here to see how that works. But you can see I cut a bunch of plugs, and I'm trying to fill the larger holes in the top, specifically where the 2 different vices went. So it turned out pretty okay. Pretty okay. Anyway, that's what I'm doing, and hopefully the voice picks up on the next segment.
Okay, I've got this board, the replacement front, clamped up just clamped on for now. I'm going to try and figure out where I want to put the vise, which is going to have to be notched. And then the drawer, which won't go too far now because I don't want it to be behind. I want it to be more useful. So we're going to position this like right up as far as we can there. Oh, yeah. And that's going to give us a good vise on the end and the other vise up here. I think it's going to be a little better than it was, if that's possible, because it was pretty darn good before.
Here we go again. The audio is still not working, so I'm showing you that I'm going to try and salvage the front of this old drawer and make it fit in and notch it out, slide her in, slide her out. We got a drawer. Look at that, showing you I used a whole bunch of fasteners. This thing is solid as a rock. So it really helped fix things up. And then let's make it look pretty. And okay, we've got the plugs in and dried, or mostly dried, and we're going to go ahead and cut them flush before we do some sanding. Again, this was a pretty good idea because in the end result, you'll see it worked. So that's just me trimming up, making things pretty. Well, everything except for the guy holding the saw. That's not so pretty. But yep, here we go. Whoop whoop. Oh, look at that. The skill. It's the skill that we're watching. I'm glad I'm watching with you. Okay, I'll shut up now. Yep, looks good.
Okay, I got a two-sided backsplash put on. I'm going to attempt and throw some finish on this just to see what it looks like. So I don't know. I'm thinking I'm going to have to be done for the day. That cleaned up pretty nice. I'm not mad at it. I debated doing the stain because I like the light cut top, but excuse my mess. So I'm going to clean up for the night. I have to find a home for all of this temporarily until tomorrow so that when my wife gets home, she can park her car. Okay, good morning. Yesterday I said I'm going to start using my mic to see if it'll work with the heater going, and then I didn't use the heater, so kind of a waste. So today, first thing, I turned on the heater so I could heat up, not indirectly heat up a can of paint to paint the handle. So I did, and it's drying. In addition, I took my steel wool and also my little Scotch-Brite pad, and I cleaned up, since it's off, the vise, both vices. Why am I holding? Anyway, and then I gave them another shot of 50-50 for preservation. You know, it's something it's on, especially in a wet environment, cold environment like this. Maintenance is an ongoing thing. The table, the stain is dry, and I didn't want to put a varnish or an oil on it because it's going to get destroyed. But I went over it with some Murphy's Clean and Shine, and it looks good. That's all I can say. It looks good. So now we're going to let the handle dry, and I'm going to clean up my makeshift, I don't know if I've shown this, anvil. One of the things I want to do, and it's definitely not worthy of a video, is this is a rail, so it's got a little bit of a convex. I want to take half of it and flatten it out. And I don't have a milling machine. So we'll see how that goes. But that's another, I'll do it and I'll let you know what I did and how it came out, but I won't make a video out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and remount the two vices on the bench now after I clean up the hardware. The hardware is pretty gross. I think it was gross when I first put it on. We're going to get it all cleaned up, put it back together, and then we'll show you that. Do you want to see me polishing nuts and bolts? Probably not, but maybe.
So I guess good news, I screwed up the audio again. This was a learning curve. Anyway, I'm trying to show you here about how I mounted the vise underneath and by drilling through the table, and how to get the washers, the nuts, and the bolts to line up. And let's just go on record as saying it didn't go as smooth as I thought. I had everything laid out ready. As you can see, good start, but I could not get the washer up around the rails on that vise for nothing. So I'll cut it here. I think I jumped to the chase here in the next part about what I did do to make it all work. Okay, so yeah, here's the final answer is I used one of my little squeeze vices there to hold the vise in place, and that allowed me to get the washer up underneath before I dropped the bolt all the way through, etc., etc. And so long story short, we got the darn thing mounted. Just every time I've mounted this vise over the years, it's taken me twice as long as I think it should have. But this time it went a little bit faster, so who knows, maybe when I'm 70, it'll, go even really smoother. I do have to say, by doing this voiceover, I'm cutting a lot out, and that's probably a good thing. So yeah, I was just showing you that the Wilton vise, where I positioned it, it mounts all now with 4 lag bolts into that heavy top, and you can see it can turn and go either way, works fine, clears the other vise. It's going to save me a little bit of desktop space there, or benchtop space, but I was happy with how it came out. So let's get her mounted the rest of the way down and we'll move on.
All right. In closing, boy, wonder how long that'll last. So no, my goal is to keep my stuff clean when I get it. When I redo it like this, because I want it to be better. And so hopefully at the end of each workday, I look over, unless there's something drying or, I got to get on it first thing in the morning. But at the end of the workday, my bench should look, all our benches should look something like this. Clean, everything's well preserved, the no surface rust going on. And I had a lot of fun with this project. I know it was a little long. I know I spent a little more than I wanted to. Probably about $35 went into this directly. That's casters, some new wood, and the construction screws. This thing is solid though, and more solid than it's been. So I think it was worth it. So I want to see your workbench as is. This is my new untouched workbench. I also have a habit of scribbling measurements on it in pencil. I'm going to try and stop that. Anyway, I want to see your workbench. Show me what you got. This has been, like I said, a lot of fun, and I can't wait. I will see you next week. Bye.